It's time to start our next discussion. Many condemned inmates in some Nigerian prisons live their lives daily in fear, not knowing when their appointed time to meet the hangman will come.
Now, some have stayed for as long as 20 years without getting the death penalty for crimes they committed. Now, but for some Nigerians, the death penalty has not served as a deterrent, with capital crime still on the increase in the country.
Well, we have a lawyer and political analyst, Fred Nzako, in the studio with us to discuss this further. Thank you for your time on the show and good morning.
Many thanks.
Yes, and we
have
have close to 2,000 or even more of condemned prisoners scattered across Nigerian prisons in the country. Yes. And yet we have some that have stayed for, like you heard, up to 20 years, and they are yet to meet the final end.
The hangman. I think it is a very terrible development in our administration of criminal justice system. In the first instance, who is a condemned criminal? A condemned criminal is somebody who has gone through the judicial process of prosecution and found guilty by the courts of law, and then is pronounced to be killed either by hanging or by any means, provided the life of the fellow is terminated as far as the law is concerned. And then if such a criminal knows and there's a judicial pronouncement, meanwhile, the criminal would have exhausted the available options of appeal. Some of them go as high as the Supreme Court. And then the confirmation given by Supreme Court that such criminal should be executed, the criminal automatically becomes a condemned criminal, and as far as the law is concerned, it becomes a huge liability on the criminal justice system, because the fellow is supposed to be removed from our populace. Now, if you continue to keep such a fellow, you are continuing to feed such a fellow from the people's purse. You are continuing to keep such a fellow at the detriment of the security and safety of the prison inmates. You are continuing to keep such a fellow at the risk of jailbreak, because statistics have shown that most of the people who are condemned criminals are the ones who mastermind jailbreaks, because that seems to be the only option available to them. The only option. There was a jailbreak in Abidjan, Cote d'Ivoire, some time ago, and some Nigerians who were already condemned ran away. And then by the time they ran back into Nigeria, they are still free. And then they are now lied low, and Interpol cannot even access them. If somebody breaks a jail facility, a prison facility, a Nigerian, and he runs to another country and lies low, the person is off the radar. And so at the end of the day, it behoves, and that is why people keep talking that the governors who have the authority of state to sign the execution warrant of these condemned criminals are not doing Nigeria any good. You have an option. Either you give them amnesty, in which case you commute their death sentence to maybe a life imprisonment. And that is the advocacy of many of those advocates who are against execution. Or you sign their execution warrant, so that the over 2,000 people condemned dotting our prison facilities all over the country is a colossal waste to Nigerian environment, as far as I am concerned.
Okay.
Because we have an option. It is either you do this or you do that. But unfortunately, the governors don't want to take that option. And then some people will very easily criticize them that they would like to sign budgets and supplementary appropriations, and then they won't want to sign the execution. That the Lord who is given authority to sign budget also gives authority to sign the
execution warrants. All right, now walk us through the ideals. Let's have a mind picture from the point where someone is condemned.
Yes.
What is the process he should go through before he finally meets the hangman?
The process is such that once a fellow is condemned, or as a matter of fact, by that time the fellow is already in a prison facility, that is in a prison, and then the fellow, once this governor signs the execution warrant, then because without that execution warrant, the hangman cannot walk. The authority which the hangman will use to hang the condemned prisoner is that warrant of execution in the hand and seal of the governor of the state. Without that, the fellow will remain there till thy kingdom come. So, and even as we speak, we also have another challenge. I learned from prison officials that Nigeria is fast losing the number of hangmen that they have. I think we have just about less than 10 hangmen all over the country.
Well, a prison official debunked that is not true.
That they say they have enough?
Enough.
Okay, so the problem is now execution
The government.
warrant. So they have enough men to hang, but they don't have the authority to do the hanging.
To hanging.
So the bulk now goes back to the governors.
Okay, yeah. Now, there are also issues of, well, in history so far, we know of, for example, former Edo State Governor
Yes.
Adams Oshiomhole and
Yes.
Kano State Ibrahim Shekarau, who
Yes.
signed death
They're the only
warrants
ones that did, but they didn't sign all.
Oh, no,
Yes.
just
sign all.
for Edo and then 2 for Kano. And then,
Yes.
yet, we have this number of condemned prisoners. So why not just remove death warrant then, or death sentence from our criminal code? Because Balarabe Musa, former governor of Kaduna State, said that he wouldn't blame civilian governors for not wanting to sign death warrants because they don't want to have bloods on their hands.
So is it the military governor that should have blood in his hand?
That they are trained to kill.
If they are trained to kill, they are trained the same way the civilian governor has authority to expend our money. I keep saying that. He has the authority to sign execution warrant. Governance is not all about massaging the psychology or the ego of anybody. Governance is not all about religious feeling. Governance is all about what the law has said.
Why not remove criminal code then?
If any governor feels that he doesn't want blood in his hand, let him commute that condemned criminal to life imprisonment. And then if any governor feels that we should take away capital punishment from our laws, what stops the governor at the governor's forum bringing an executive bill to National Assembly and have a robust national dialogue on that? So many countries have expunged execution from their laws, but as long as that has not been expunged, the law is the law. And any governor who is not obeying the law is breaching the law. So they have every opportunity to change the law. And that is what we call dynamic leadership. If you don't execute that, if you don't implement such leadership, then you are shortchanging the system.
All right. Now, is it possible that anyone who has already been condemned
Yes.
to death
Yes.
can receive pardon from the governor that
Why
has
not?
the power to?
It is called prerogative of mercy. It's even enshrined in our laws. It's called prerogative of mercy. It can be granted by the governor. It's an executive prerogative. It can be granted by the governor. It can be granted by the president, depending on the nature of the offense. So if the governor and the president decide, they will now grant such prerogative so that the threat and the fear of death hanging around the head of the condemned criminals will be removed. And most importantly, let's turn our prison facilities to productive environment. Because somebody who is on life sentence, it doesn't mean that the fellow will not be useful and productive. There should be facilities. As when the fellow is trained in tailoring, he can be making uniforms for other prison inmates. That is a productive.
And that's why he awaits his...
That's why he spends his life there. And there is this local adage that says that half life is better than half death. So naturally, every human being, when faced with the threat of death, will prefer a half life. So a life sentence naturally will be much better for most people who, having gone through the ordeals of trial, they will prefer a life sentence and then being productive for the system while in prison. And that is why many people who advocate this abdication or an expunging of capital punishment from our laws, that's what they hinge on. Moreover, a lot of them argue that capital punishment has not minimized crime. But those statistics on that is arguable. It is not definite, it's not final, because you wouldn't know what would have been if there was no capital
punishment. All
yes.
right. Okay, so the federal government is considering state pardon to decongest prisons. For example, those on death row that have spent up to 10 years in Nigerian prisons could be pardoned or have their death sentence commuted to life imprisonment, and then those that are supposed to be for life imprisonment could be released if they have spent up to 10 years. Is that good?
It depends on the nature of the offense. If somebody is a serial killer, even if the fellow has spent 10 years in prison and you release that person, the person may come out to continue to hurt the system. So my personal opinion will be, turn around the prison facilities to become an economic venture, to become to become economically viable. Let those who are the prison inmates be useful to the system. Somebody who has gone through the hog of criminal trial and then has been found wanted and has been found guilty and have been sentenced to death, if you commute that to capital, to life imprisonment, and the fellow is not useful, the fellow is still sucking from the economy by way of maintenance in the prison facility. But if the fellow is useful to the economy, then the fellow will now remain there. If you now be okay, you want to decongest the prison and you want to give blanket amnesty and pardon and mercy to most others, you may erroneously grant pardon to terrible criminals in that place. Instead, what government should be thinking about is to decongest the prison by ensuring speedy dispensation of justice, because most of the people who are in prison facilities are not those who have been condemned, but those who are waiting trial.
Exactly. Now that the governors are not willing to sign the executive warrant of execution warrant, where do we go from here?
We must hold them accountable. We must ask them, like I'm saying. We must ask them. We must tell them to do their work. Nigerians must rise up and tell the governors to do their work. Because you don't, I'm sorry to say this, the job of a governor is different from that of a religious leader. You're a governor sworn, you took an oath of office to uphold the constitution and laws of Nigeria. You don't decide which one to uphold and which one not to uphold. You don't do the ones that you feel will satisfy your own intentions and then keep away the ones that you feel will not satisfy your own intentions. Meanwhile, those your intentions are diatribe by intention, because on one side you are signing out our money, on the other side you don't want to sign execution warrant. On one side you're doing the things that you feel it will be okay for you. On the other, if you feel that signing execution warrant will bring a cost to your generation, don't be a governor. Or pull resources together as a governor, as earlier said at the governors forum, and then bring a bill.
Because these are all the duties.
These are all the duties constitutionally allowed, provided by the law. So you must do all of them A to Z. You don't pick and choose the one to do and the one not to do.
Of course, and we always hear that condemned prisons across the country are even in deplorable conditions, because those that are not even condemned prisoners sometimes get to be put there for a while and they come back to tell tales of woes.
It's not only the condemned prison. Every prison facility in Nigeria is dilapidated. Every, not even one, not an exception. A to Z, all of them. And that is why many people have been agitating that the issue of prison should not be on the exclusive legislative list. Let it be at least in concurrent, so that governors can build prison facilities. In some advanced countries, private investors build prison facilities. They have a liaison. It's a public-private partnership. They have a liaison with the private sector, with public sector, and they build prison facilities. That's the way they are settled. I am sure, because I have seen that in the United States of America, and I know that it happens in some other civilized jurisdictions. So if a private man can build a remand facility, how can a state government build? So at least we update our prison facilities. And a lot of prison facilities have development. Urban development has caught up with them because they're supposed to be far-flung from the city. Just like the same way you have airports far-flung from the city. But by the time urban development has come up, then you now need to take them off and then throw them again far-flung from the city, so that they will be there, serve their sentences, and then those of them who need to be rehabilitated should be rehabilitated. Moreover, we need massive and serious rehabilitation. That does not happen in Nigerian prisons. And that is why the place is like a hell. So people who ordinarily should not be there should not be there. Now, there's no prison facility in Nigeria that is not congested. There's none. A facility of 400 people will be holding 2,000. A facility of 800 people will be holding 3,000. And that is not good. That is not even healthy, because for even the condemned criminal has a right. He has a right. While he is still alive, such a right must be maintained.
So in this case, are we going to encourage private people to also help build prisons?
Let us first start.
Does the law in Nigeria?
No, let us first start by amending the law to allow the state government build prisons
before private individuals can. I agree. All right, Fred Nzako, lawyer and analyst, thank you very much for coming this morning. Thank you so much.
Enjoy your day.
Thank you. Right.